Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I go for refuge in the Buddha. I go for refuge in the Dharma. I go for refuge in the Sangha. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. All right. We're off again to another 15 minutes of seated meditation. Someone asked Tutsu, "What is the eye of the living?" Tutsu said, "No warmth." Chant the Gatha on opening the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. All right, relax, sit comfortably, have a beverage, have a little nosh. For the month of September and probably a little bit into October, we're going to take one of our favorite scriptures, we'll call them, sutras, teachings. Could be as long as a whole sutra. It could be as short as a sentence. But whatever it is, what we're trying to do this next 6 weeks or thereabouts is to talk about how one of these teachings has had an impact on our own personal practice, in our own lives. Tonight I want to talk about the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment, which is possibly not one of the better known sutras in the West. Certainly not compared to like the Diamond or Lotus or Heart Sutras, for example. And this one's interesting because to me, it spans the gamut of practice. It basically cuts through the rigidity that we often can find our thoughts going to when we think of our practice. For example, there's the sudden enlightenment or gradual enlightenment, or maybe if you're part of the Sangha, sudden enlightenment, gradual cultivation. And so this sutra sort of breaks through all of those limitations, which is, as far as I'm concerned, one of those things that sutras probably should do is break us of our bad habits that we develop as far as our practice goes. So this one is set up in a way where there are a number of bodhisattvas in attendance, one of the Buddha's sermons. So, monks everywhere, right? So he's typically just addressing his comments to monks. Fair enough, makes sense. And as opposed to some sutras where it's kind of just a dialogue between the Buddha and one bodhisattva, Subhuti and the Buddha in Diamond Sutra, Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra in the Heart Sutra, for example. Here there's a dozen bodhisattvas, and they all pose questions to the Buddha. And the sutra is kind of like an owner's manual for practice. It's the how-to guide. It's the, all right, I'll say it because obviously the filter is not engaged tonight, but it's the practice for dummies of the sutras. And the 12 bodhisattvas involved in posing the questions to the Buddha are Manjushri, Samantabhadra, Universal Vision, Vajragarbha, Maitreya, Pure Wisdom, Power and Virtue Unhindered, Voice of Discernment, and purifier of karmic hindrances, universal enlightenment, perfect enlightenment bodhisattva, and most excellent of worthies bodhisattva. I wanted to focus primarily on one of these particular dialogues, but I want to go through and I want to read as little as possible from the sutra, but I'm going to anyway. And I just want to give a feel of what kind of questions these bodhisattvas are posing to the Buddha and the direction that they take from the start toward the end. I also have to say beforehand that two of my favorite phrases of all the sutras are in this one. The first one is sky flowers, which I've always taken to mean like when you rub your eyes and all those things happen inside your eyelids that, they're not really there, but, that's what I think of when I hear sky flowers. And the other one is they use the phrase sentient beings of the degenerate age. I'm going to leave that bit out as much as possible, but it's interesting that, the sentient beings, once the Buddha has died and the teachings are that much further away from the original and, original teachers and their descendants, and it's harder to get the teachings. That's the degenerate age, and you can figure out whether we're in it or not. So Manjushri starts, teach us about the reality practice or the Dharma practice of the Tathagata's originally arisen pure causal stage. Also, please teach the bodhisattvas to arise pure mind in the great vehicle and become distantly removed from all diseases, such that they can cause future sentient beings of the degenerate age who seek the great vehicle not to fall into mistaken views. Samantabhadra's question is, how should we practice? Part of the Buddha's response in that one is freedom from illusion is in itself enlightenment, and there are no stages. Hold on to that for later. Universal Vision Bodhisattva asks, how should sentient beings think? How should they abide? For sentient beings who have not yet awakened, what kinds of expedient means should be devised to cause them all to awaken? This is the Buddha's response here. These newly awakened bodhisattvas and sentient beings must correct their thoughts and rid themselves of all illusions, first relying on the Tathagata's practice of samatha meditation. Vajragarbha Bodhisattva asks, if all sentient beings are originally perfect Buddhas, then how can they also possess ignorance? If sentient beings are originally ignorant, how can you say that they have always been perfect Buddhas? If all the worldlings in 10 directions are originally perfectly enlightened, but later give rise to ignorance, at what point do all these Tathagatas regenerate these afflictions? He further goes on to say, yes, for this teaching, so that it will cause bodhisattvas to gain unshakable faith and allow all sentient beings to gain access to this teaching such that they can permanently sever all doubt and regret. Maitreya Bodhisattva, thought of as the future Buddha, the one who will come back in the degenerate age, I guess. He asks, if the bodhisattvas and sentient beings, how should they sever this root of cyclic existence? When we re-enter the dirty and difficult world, what kinds of teaching devices should we establish to save all sentient beings? Pure Wisdom Bodhisattva says, would you please re-explain the nature of perfect fulfilling enlightenment? What differences are there between that which is grasped and actualized by sentient beings, bodhisattvas, and the world-honored Tathagatas? Power and Virtue Unhindered Bodhisattva asks, World-honored one, my only wish is that you explain in detail for us the gradations of all the expedient methods. In general, how many kinds of religious practitioners are there? Please allow the bodhisattvas and sentient beings of the degenerate age who are seeking the great vehicle to quickly attain awakening and sport about in the Tathagata's great ocean of cessation extinction. Voice of Discernment Bodhisattva says, I beseech you to use expedient methods to teach those at this great assembly and sentient beings of the degenerate age and cause them to awaken to the marks of reality. Purifier of all karmic hindrances, Bodhisattva says, if this enlightened mind is originally pure, what kind of defilements cause sentient beings to be suffering in delusion and not enter? My only request is that you thoroughly reveal the nature of phenomena, dharmas, and cause those in this great assembly and sentient beings of the degenerate age to create the future I. Universal Enlightenment, Bodhisattva. What kind of person should we have the sentient beings seek? On what kind of teachings should they rely? What kind of practice should they do? What kind of maladies should they remove? And what kinds of resolutions should they make so as to prevent the blind multitude from falling into mistaken views? He got a little carried away there. Perfect Enlightenment Bodhisattva. Those of us present here have already awakened. Like I said, they're the bodhisattvas that he's preaching to, right? But what about the case after your passing away of the sentient beings of the degenerate age who have not yet been able to awaken? How should they conduct meditation retreats to cultivate this pure realm of pure enlightenment? And what in the practice of the three meditations within perfect enlightenment? What are the initial steps? And finally, bringing up the rear, number 12, most excellent of worthies, Bodhisattva. What names are applied to this Mahayana teaching? And the response is, the scripture is called the Sudden Teaching of the Mahayana, Great Corrective, Extensive, Perfect Enlightenment Sutra of the Complete Doctrine, and sentient beings with the capacity for all sudden will awaken through it. But it also embraces the gradual practice of all sentient beings. Okay, so I did throw in degenerate age, much as I thought I would leave it out, but I just enjoy it so much. So it's the owner's manual. What is it? What do we do? How do we do it? And what happens when we do it? It's not just for the bodhisattvas who are present. It's the bodhisattvas expressing their compassion by asking all these questions about, hey, so in the degenerate age, how do we help the sentient beings there? How do we save all sentient beings? They're bodhisattvas, after all. That is a question. Some of the key elements for me in here is the emphasis he puts on enlightenment. The emphasis he puts on meditation. He goes through samatha meditation, samapatti meditation, and dhyana meditation. We're familiar with the dhyana meditation because that's essentially what Zen is. Samatha is the meditation used to reach some sort of equanimity, to calm the mind, just to chill out. Samapatti refers to the full cessation of both sensation and perception. Basically, recognizing the emptiness of all phenomena, that they're all illusions, not to get caught up in them, not to hang on to them. Just be mindful of the Buddha and the Buddha's Dharma teachings. Dhyana, of course, is concentration meditation. We focus on one object and we want to reach the state of the extinction of distractions. And I'm not just talking about, when you're sitting there and you're staring at a 45-degree angle in front of you and a bug walks in front of you, which has happened to me, and it can be fairly distracting. But not to concentrate on anything other than the breathing, watching thoughts arise and fall away, and arise again and fall away. The sutra even implies counting breaths, which I think at one time or another we've all been taught to do. And now you know where it came from. But whether you're counting breaths or you're chanting silently to yourself, or you're envisioning a Buddha, or just going through a mental checklist of sensations, whatever it might be, it's important that we do these things. And one thing that he says in here toward the end is that we practice these things, and if, for example, samatha doesn't result in awakening, then move on to samapatti. If samapatti does not result in awakening, then move on to dhyana. Keep going. Keep plugging away. If one doesn't do it, try another, and then try another. You keep at it, but don't cling. Well, that was interesting. Thank you, Zoom. So anyway, in theory, we should still be live streaming. When you're in illusion, you think there is enlightenment. When you're in illusion, you also might think there is no enlightenment. To be awakened is to cut through the illusions. Whether we use the word awaken, enlightenment, any of these things that we're, as practitioners think we should be aiming for, think that we should be able to attain, drop it. Put it all down. This is one of those sutras that has been really impactful in Chinese and Koreans and elsewhere not so much. And you can see some of the results of this sutra come through in some of Sung San's teachings. Put it all down, for example. Don't get hung up on the words. Don't get hung up on the concept of illusion. Don't get hung up on the concept of enlightenment. Just go about, do what you do, make sure you practice. And in here, in this Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment, we're given a list of things to do for our practice. Continue to do them without any thought of attainment, without discouragement, without discrimination. Don't like being enlightened. Don't dislike being in illusion. As Sung San would say, try for 10,000 years. Become enlightened, and save all sentient beings. So, we will resume with our next 15-minute period of meditation. And I'm glad that there was only that momentary glitch. A student asked Futu, how about when I don't bring a single thing? Futu said, where did you get this? Let's chant the Heart Sutra. Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajna Paramita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is safe from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore in emptiness, no form, no feeling, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva depends on Prajna Paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, one dwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on Prajna Paramita and attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore know that Prajna Paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the Prajna Paramita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Let's do our personal dedications of merit. All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry, and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially dedicate our service to Brad Hunter, Mike Gingy Wood, Nainthin Senesuk, Would anybody like to add anyone else?
Bill
Caitlin.
and Michael Sheridan uh, in the cancer treatments they're going through right now. Joanne and Bailey Sheridan, as well as Clarice Ferreira and Elizabeth St. Laurent.
Anyone else?
Caitlin.
Any others?
Yes, one for Palestine, for everybody imprisoned, and a special one for my bro in prison, White Bear, struggling for his religious rights.
Any others? All beings in the 10 directions, subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Maha Prajna Paramita. And we'll recite our faith and practice vow. I will never retreat and will be firm in my mind in this correct Dharma. I will escape from a samsaric cycle of birth and death and definitely will see my original face. I will be sure to inherit the life of insight of the Buddha and save all sentient beings. Brother Hangdal.
The spiritual source shines clear in the light. The branching streams flow on in the dark. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. Birds and trees and stars and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We practice and recite this for all beings, and grateful thanks to our many guides along the way.
And we'll do the 4 great Bodhisattva vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to help them all. Delusions are countless. We vow to see through them all. Opportunities to awaken are infinite. We vow to embrace them all. The Buddha way is endless. We vow to embody it. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by, and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. Strive to realize your true nature, and do not squander your time by night or day.